In metrics in a social or marketing system, we're going to have a look at the role of research in organisations, whether that's businesses or government departments, and what role research plays in terms of depth of understanding, qualitative research, and the things that we can measure about what we have to deal with, whether that's markets or social systems. Understanding the differences, and then the real focus of the course is on what are the different things that we can measure and how do they interrelate. So if we first of all think very briefly perhaps in the seminar about the depth of understanding and what are the questions that might come about, and whether those questions are qualitative in nature, whether they're about understanding and why and exploring, and perhaps when we talk about exploring, whether they're more understanding, observational, or whether they're almost provocative of ideas, the more involving and engaging interactive focus group type exploration. But then we're going to look at the things that we can measure. What is it within our organisation that are different things, not stepping aside from our normal kind of measurements and just thinking, gee, if I think about my whole organisation, what would it be great to know? And what kinds of things perhaps can't we know? For example, it can be tempting to say, look, I want to understand why customers don't buy my product. I'm sick of questions about, the good sides of my product. I understand those. I'm not interested in other people's products. I'm interested in why people don't buy my product. And we might spend a bit of time discussing why that kind of measurement or that kind of question is very difficult to make unless we actually better understand why people do buy your product versus why they buy another product, and understanding that the gap between the two is the reason they don't buy. So once we've got a sense of these different kinds of measurements and had a cup of tea, a bit of a break, then we're really going to sit down and workshop, and the whole seminar is going to be pretty workshopping. What are the measurements that we could be bringing about in our own organisations? What are the different things, whether it's customers or society, etc.? And if we take each one of those and we think of it almost like a cog in a process, and we might take others, which perhaps at first are disrelated, and try and work out, is there something in between, and what are the pace of movement in these cogs? In other words, what are the things we can measure? What are the scales of measurement, whether it's an idea, whether it's a behavior, whether it's something really quite intangible or very concrete, and how do they interrelate with other things going on, which might be different scales. One scale might be a scale of purchasing, another scale might be a scale of views and attitudes in society, and how do they interrelate, and is there a metric between that interrelationship? And so we're going to come out of that, and when people go back to their organisations or businesses, they should have a new vision of that business where they can better understand, better use, better implement the different measurements that can apply to that organisation and make enormous improvements. That's what we're going to do in metrics in a marketing or social system.